Okay, welcome to our next tutorial, tutorial 3-7. We are now moving into a little more complicated work. This is where we will start looking at how to kind of plan out an animation or a game or whatever it is that we're building. So we are working towards understanding logic and code with the end game of creating things like games. And when you're doing that, you need to be able to have a bit of a plan. So far, as we've been doing each of the tutorials, as a teacher, I've done all the planning and I've decided what you're going to do and what you're going to make. And you basically follow the instructions. And at the end, you're done with making, your pterodactyl, your pen, or whatever thing it is. We have sort of followed instructions to get there. As we get through to kind of more complicated work, you're going to have to start making these plans up as you kind of write down and come up with your concepts. And to do that, we are going to learn how to use flowcharts, and we're going to use those this is going to be kind of a much longer and more involved tutorial because there's a lot to learn here, and it's going to be broken up into parts because it is quite a lot to digest. You need to pay attention to the flowcharting one because I do this one for you, but in subsequent lessons, you're going to be doing your own. Okay, so do pay attention as we move through this. And so this first tutorial will only be on flowcharting. Okay, so to flowchart, I'm using a software which is available online. You can just get it by going draw.io. We'll do that later. You don't need to do this now. You just need to follow along. Okay, this is what we're going to be working with. And you may have seen flowcharts before. You may have even done flowcharts before, but they're just a visual representation of a plan. Okay, they're just what's going to be happening at what time and what things have to happen in the background for all of the pieces to fit together and work. Okay, let's take a look at what we're creating. Okay, here we are in Scratch. Now there are two versions of this. This is the first one, which will be the basic solution, and then this one is a bit more involved. For now, we only need to worry about this one. We'll get to this one afterwards, and we'll see why in a moment. So here's the game. I reset the game, and there are a couple things that are happening. So we've got something called key press, which we'll talk about in a second, and egg position, which we'll talk about in a second. We've got a hen, and we've got a couple of or 3 eggs. Okay, and it says press 1, 2, or 3 on your keyboard to find my baby chick. And so what's happening is there are 3 eggs here. There are 3 separate sprites. And they each have got different costumes. Okay, one of them is got an egg, or sorry, a chicken or a chick in the egg, and the other 2 are empty eggs. So let's take a look. Right now, this is being randomly generated, okay, egg position. And if I press 2 on my keyboard, it's going to be the correct answer. So press 1, 2, or 3. So I can see here, because this is turned on, it says egg position is 2. If I hit 2, it's going to say that's correct. And it switches to a costume that shows me, okay, that chick inside the egg. I'll do it again. Okay, this time it's 1. So I press 1 and it says, oh, you found me. And there's the chick. It opens up and then it closes back up. It then re-randomizes your egg position. So you'll see that it's keeping a track of what I just used, what I pressed. Okay, dropping that into a variable. And it is telling me where my next position is, which is randomly generated. I hit 3 and it says, okay, you found me. Now, if I get it wrong, okay, let's take a look. Let's let it reset. Okay, so the egg position is 2 right now. So if I press 1 on my keyboard, it says that's incorrect. Okay, it says no, it's not 1. Okay, it doesn't regenerate because it doesn't need to move because I got it wrong. I now press 3, that's wrong again, and I press 2, and it goes, oh, you found me. Okay, so that's what we're working through, and it's just it's called a shell game or a ball and cup game, and essentially it's just hiding the chick and randomizing its position, and we are trying to find it. All right, and so to do that, we have some kind of background things happening, and there's kind of a lot. There's a lot more happening than you might initially think. And what I would like you to do at this point, right after I finish talking about this, I want you to pause the video and take a look and kind of at what's happening here, and do your best to make a little list for yourself of what is happening, because this is part of the process. If you can look at a game or look at a project and say, okay, how is this working? It'll help you where we're going forward in if you're trying to create a game like tic-tac-toe, or you're trying to create a game like rock, paper, scissors, or whatever it is that you're doing, you need to break down each of the steps and say, okay, what's happening and how do I code for that? So in this instance, these are 2 variables, and what's happening? Where are they being set and how is that being generated? Then there's this hen. And what's the hen doing? Well, we're kind of in a waiting loop at this point, and it's waiting for you to do something. It's giving you a prompt. And then this is something as well that's tied here to this. So we know that there's a number here, and then the position has something to do with it. So I want you to make a list, just a paper list for yourself. You're not submitting it or anything. It's just for you to kind of start that process of thinking what is happening in the background. Okay, so I'll take a little pause here. You can pause the video and you can make that list for yourself. Okay, hopefully you have a list going, and you're now going to be able to take a look at what I have here as a plan, and we can see how close you were or what maybe you missed. So if we take a look here, this is basically a bit of a process, right? It's a bit of a plan around what's happening. So we've got some pieces here, and this is not exactly the same as a full flow chart, but I've separated out some shapes just to help you better differentiate each thing, right? So when there are decisions and when there are options and when there are choices, when we've got like a divergent option, we use different shapes. These are not exactly accurate, but they're close enough for now as we're learning. Okay, so as we can see from the game, we've got a starting point, and let's start over back here. All right, so this is our start, okay? And from that, we have sort of three things that have to happen at my setup. First, the hen has to prompt the user to do something. Otherwise, the user doesn't know what to do. You come here, and without this, you're not sure what to do. And in fact, this could probably be clearer because it's not necessarily clear that you don't click on these, because clicking doesn't do anything. This should probably say something a bit more specific to not just key, but on your keyboard or something. That's a piece of feedback that I'm giving myself. Okay, so it says, do something, okay, a little prompt. Then there's a generate kind of a random number between 1 and 3 to assign to a variable, because that's what's happening in our egg position. Before we play the game, every time I reset it, you can see it's resetting my position. It's saying, okay, randomly select between 1, 2, or 3, and that variable gets stored somewhere, right? And we can see that happening here, okay? It generates that number, and then it resets the positions and the costumes, okay, based on what that choice is. So for example, let's say it sets position 2. It needs to then put the chick or the egg that has the chicken in position 2. So when I click on it, it can say, let me start this thing here. It's 1, hit 1, okay, and it says, oh, you found me. It needs to put this here. And let me show you what I mean by that. I'll show you later, okay, once I open this up. Okay, so that has to happen. Okay, it positions the eggs according to what the variable is. We've got 2 empty eggs and 1 egg with a chick in it, and they have to be either 1, 2, or 3, depending on what that variable is. All right, so then we are like placing them, and that happens here. I change it from a number to a word because that's easier to work with. So it says if the variable is 1, because these are being randomly generated, if it's 1, then broadcast left. If it's 2, broadcast center. If it's 3, broadcast right. And that's to position the egg that has the chick in it. So if it's 1, we're going to put the egg with the chick on the very left, which would be this position. If it's if the variable is 2, then broadcast center, and it's going to put this chick into the second position, which is here, and it's going to move the 2 empty eggs into the other positions. So if the chick is here, this will be empty egg 1, this will be empty egg 2. If the chick is here, this will be empty egg 1, this will be empty egg 2, okay, and so on, okay? And so here we have this happening, okay? It's repositioning the eggs according to the variable. All right, and at this point, we wait for input. So all of this happens as soon as we start the game, right? We kind of go, it does all of those things. It chose my variable, it repositioned the eggs, it prompted my user to do something, okay? Here's our waiting. The next thing that should happen is the user should interact. So they press either key 1, 2, or 3. So if we press 1, something happens. 2, something happens. 3, something happens. Okay, well, we need to not just press 1. We need to then, once that press has happened, we need to say, is it correct? Is that the right choice? So this is where we kind of have this sort of splitting off of outcomes. If I press key 1, and the variable is 1, okay, this variable set here, well, then I'm right? If I have, in this case, 1, and I click 1 on my keyboard, that's correct, okay? In which case we say, yep, you're correct. If I press 2 and it's variable 2, yep, that's correct. And if I press 3 and the variable is 3, yes, that's correct as well. And if not, if I press 1 and the variable is not 1, well, then I'm wrong. And then it goes to no. And 2, I didn't press 2. No, then it's wrong. And it's the key presses 3 and the variable is not 3. Again, that's wrong. Okay, so this is where we split off into, are you right or are you wrong? And in that case, if it's yes, we need to broadcast, okay, you found me, or no, you missed. And then we have a say command or a say block, which says you found me, and it shows the appropriate costume, or it says try again, you got it wrong. Okay, so now that we've seen this, let's take a quick look at how that worked again. I'll go back to that. Okay, 1 and 1. So it runs all my variables, runs all that code to produce my variables. It repositions my eggs and it waits for the prompt. Okay, I hit 1 on my keyboard and it produces that costume and switches back to hidden, and then it resets this. Okay, and that's happening right here. As soon as we're done, finished, it goes start over and reset all costumes, and it regenerates a random variable. It waits for the prompt, so it prompts the user, and then it repositions all the eggs accordingly. Okay, and so this is our whole process, and this is what's happening in the game as we play. Okay, every time I do 2, I got it right, it resets. Okay, this time it resets to 2 again, so I'll hit 3, I got it wrong. I hit 1, I got it wrong. I press 2, I got it right, and so on. And this just continues over and over and over. Now it's 3, so I press 2, I got it wrong. I press 3, I got it right, etc., etc. Okay, and of course there's a reset here if I wanted to restart the game. Okay, that's the process, and you will be at some point coming up soon. You'll be creating these. For now, you don't need to create this one because it's already been done. But you should take a look at this, and you should understand exactly what's happening because you will at very soon. You'll start making these. Okay. All right. That's it for this tutorial. Hopefully, what you had on your list and what you see here is close. You may have missed some pieces. That's okay. Add them into your list so that you understand them. And as soon as you're done with that, then you can move on to the next lesson.